Are West Ham in need of a change of system? It didn't work last season. I think last season we were gearing towards a back five. I think that the signing of Aged was pretty clear that we wanted to move to a back five system. He got injured. We never got that chance. The World Cup happened. We then had a chance to change the system again, make a change. Moyes basically put out the same team that he was putting out in the previous sort of years, before the World Cup. Um, we then get halfway this like further through the season, and we're getting desperate. Moyes changes to a back five, and we play a three, and we end up finishing the season in that. Now, even the season before that, I remember the last day against Brighton when we lost around 4-0. We said to ourselves that whatever's happening here is not working. We've been found out. We need something fresh. We need something new. And Moyes tried to implement that last season. Will he implement something new this season? Now, to me, a big indication that he is going to go to a back five is the fact that he tried to sign Harry Maguire on loan, somebody that I feel is only really valued in a back five system the way he is for England. And I think it's pretty clear that he can't play in a back two. He played in that sort of system for Leicester. It didn't really, it worked out for him there, but it didn't work out for him at Man United, where he had arguably world-class players, better players than he'll have if he was to sign for West Ham United. Now, obviously, the situation with Harry Maguire is irrelevant for me. The fact that he is even being looked at by Moyes is an indication to me that maybe we will be switching to that back five. Now, I've got two major things with this. Number one, I don't think our fullbacks are big enough, are good enough. Sorry, we signed Emerson last season to fill that kind of wing back role. And he has been good. I actually do think he's a very good player. I think he'll be a lot more in Moyes' plans this season. On the flip side, we've got players like Kera, who I actually think would work very well in the back three, not as one of the fullbacks. But then we've got Soufal, Ben Johnson, who can play there, and I don't think Soufal is a good enough wing back. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he would fill that sort of slot. He's never really played there for West Ham necessarily. There was a period of time, obviously, when we played with Lingard in our sort of breakthrough season, I'd say, just after lockdown, where we did play this back five system, and it worked really, really well with Arthur Masuaku on the left. Creswell was this sort of almost like a left back, but also a centre back. So when we would go forward, he would go into this sort of, he'd slot back into the back three and follow up on Masuaku. He'd go up high, sort of cover Masuaku, allowing him to have all the freedom. And then when we were going back into out of possession, it would slot into a back five with Creswell being able to cover Masuaku there as well. So I think that worked quite well. And we didn't really use it the season after. We had to switch to something else. And we played really, really well in that counter-attacking system as well, in the sort of 4-2-3-1 or the 4-3-3, whatever you sort of want to call it. So I do think that our fullbacks have played in that position before, and Soufal obviously was part of that, but I don't think he's good enough to play in a back five. You look at the teams who play the back five really, really well. Teams like Chelsea who've played it really well over the years, having players like Reece James in there. Tottenham have had some decent fullbacks over the years, like Reguilon, who was brilliant for them when he played in that back five system, and it worked out really, really well. It is something that I would actually love us to adopt, because I think Scamacca really, really suits that system. He, for me, would fulfill like a Harry Kane role. And if we were to sign someone like Harvey Barnes, for instance, we'd have two inside forwards in Jarrod Bowen and Harvey Barnes, who would sort of fulfill the Son Kulusevski. And I don't want a repeat of the Spurs system, but the way their top three, or forward three or front three, the way they interact with each other, I think is really, really good. And Scamacca would be perfect for that role, that Harry Kane role of dropping in deep, being able to find Harvey Barnes, if we were to sign him, of course, being able to find Jarrod Bowen. I think even Cornet would suit that left-sided role if we were to adopt that. And obviously, Saïd Benrahma is someone who potentially may leave the club, which means that might indicate a new system. So I do think it could work with the players we've got around us. And obviously, with Declan Rice leaving, this is the perfect time to build our midfield. Do we want to do a midfield three and sign another two players, or do we want to work with what we got and sign one player who's going to sit next to Lucas Paqueta and use the other money to sign some decent fullbacks and a centre back who's going to go into that back five system. The issue I have with the back five system as well, though, is it's very high risk, high reward. It's quite balanced, I think, in the way the team looks and the way the team sets out, but it is very high risk, high reward. And I think even though you've got five at the back, it is more an attacking formation than it is a defensive one, because you want to push your fullbacks really, really high, and often they get caught in transition. And like I said, number one, I don't think our fullbacks are good enough for that. And also, I think Moyes really does rely on this system that is working well defensively. And of course, a back five is probably the easiest, the most concrete system you can use to have a good defence. And obviously having those three midfielders as well means that they're able to either come into the defence or help the defence out if they need to. Having a back five sometimes can be quite a lot of players in different positions. Yes, you cover more of the pitch, but it's quite hard to keep your line in a back five. And at times, if you think about it, with your fullbacks pressed up so high, you've only got three defenders at the back, whereas maybe if you don't have your fullbacks pressed up as high as we do, you've got four players who can defend. So I don't, even though it's a system I think Moyes does really, really like, I'm not sure his idea of, he's always defence first, isn't he? He always likes to have a defensively sound team before he moves on to the attack. He feels that if we can keep the ball out of the net, then we've got a really good chance of nicking a goal, as opposed to this idea of we're going to score loads of goals and try and outscore the position. That's never been Moyes' style of football. He's always wanted a bit more possession. He's always wanted a defensive team that just works on the counter and scores goals with very little chances. So that is a risk for me with this system, is that it might remove our defensive capabilities, because towards the end of the season, I actually think our defence was really, really strong and we found a good balance in it. By throwing in this back five system, it could sort of, make us concede more goals. And even when we played well with the back five system, we were at risk of conceding goals. We were at risk of being caught on the counter. We just happened to score a lot more goals. But obviously, lockdown football is very different to anything we've experienced since. There are teams who have not prospered as much during lockdown as they did during it. So I don't know if it would be a system now, but it's very clear that Moyes needs to find a system that actually suits him. And obviously, like I said, there's two trains of thought. You can either stick with this 4-3-3 we've got going, where I don't think Scamacca necessarily would be as involved and would suit it as much. I feel like he needs someone up top with him helping him out. In a front three, in a five, I think you can push your wingers closer to your striker with Bowen sort of hanging off him. And, it could even work with having your left back push up a little bit further to join the midfield almost. So Fornals, I think, would be perfect for that left wing back role. And having your left winger, if it was said Benrahma, for instance, having more of a wide role, and then having a more defensive right back or right wing back in Soufal, and then having Bowen hang off the striker, almost like having a front two with a wide winger. You don't have to be symmetric on either side. So I do feel as though the 4-3-3 does not involve Scamacca as much. And I want Scamacca in West Ham's plans. I don't want us to go out and buy another striker. It was tough enough to get Scamacca. It's tough enough to cough up the money for him. There's not really that many strikers available at the moment to me that would come into this team and instantly be a star, or B, be available for the prices that we actually want. The striker market right now is very, very difficult, and I don't think there's anyone really attainable to us who is worth getting when we already have Gianluca Scamacca. So you have that. You also have the new dynamic in midfield. Declan Rice was able to go forward and also was able to come back and cover. We're not going to be able to do that this season. We need a proper number 6 and maybe another number 8 who's going to fulfill both those roles. The other midfielder was essentially like just a free roam player. That's why Souček played that position. He sort of went into this ghost striker role towards the back end of last season. So, does that suit our players as well? Paqueta, I think, would probably thrive more in a system where he's in a 5-2-3 than maybe if he was in a 4-3-3, because he wouldn't have to come back as much. He'd have more freedom. And he'd also be able to sort of do a little bit more integrating with Scamacca, sometimes even going ahead of Scamacca if he was to drop that deep. And also, like I said, you've got the defense. The defense right now, I'd say, is probably our strongest asset. So, do you want to go and disrupt that by adding another sort of another player into the mix, creating that back five, creating that difficult high line? It's such a difficult system to play in, and like you might have 5 players at the back, but it is generally more an attacking formation. It's not there to do what it says, which is you've got 5 players back. It doesn't work like that. To do it effectively, it's high risk, high reward. You need to push your fullbacks up quite high to be able to support the inside players, and you need your striker to be able to drop back a little bit, or you need players to come in and help the midfield at times. Sometimes even the middle centre back will come into the midfield and help out. So there's a lot of question marks for me with a back 5, but then there's also a lot of question marks with our current formation because we just simply don't score enough goals with it. We don't get enough out of players like Jarrod Bowen. I think the issue for me is that the 4-3-3 works to an extent, and it's a generic formation. Most teams use it. We've seen Liverpool have a lot of luck with it over the last few years. Manchester City as well. Arsenal have got a very good version of the 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it, that they play. So, it's a formation that works, and it was working towards the end of last season. We won a trophy with it, for Christ's sake, and it did keep us up. So do we want to stick with that or take a risk and go for this new formation of a back 5, which we know Moyes really, really wants to adapt and adopt? But then you get that risk of we need to sign maybe another centre-back for that to happen. Definitely need to sign at least a right-back for that to come to fruition. And we also need to sign a player like Harvey Barnes or even like Moussa Diaby or Jeremy Doku. There's so many players we can sign. For me, I think, do you want a system that suits the players, or do you want players who suit the system? And that is 2 completely different things. If you want a system that suits the players, you look at the squad you've got, the players you've got, what system would suit what we've got at the moment, and then you bring in a couple of additions to, just a bit of icing on the cake. If you want a system, a system that suits the players, you then need to start thinking about, right, he doesn't suit this system, so I need to bring a new player in to adopt it. Scamacca, for instance, doesn't suit a 4-3-3. Oh, we need to bring someone else for it. I want to adopt this new system. We need to bring in 3 or 4 new players to get that system to come to fruition. So that is the major thing for me. And it's maybe Moyes, he's a creature of habit. Maybe he isn't in any risk, in any sort of rush to change the system. I mean, in the preseason, we basically played the same system that we played all year last year. So it's not apparent that he's trying to move to a back 5. But a big question last season for all of us was, are we in need of new tactics? Are we in need of a new system? And sometimes that does come with a new manager. Sometimes you think, well, if you want a new system, you need a new manager. But considering that David Moyes looks as though he's going to stay on as West Ham manager, do we need a new change of system? Is it worth keeping this 4-3-3 when we know we're not going to score as many goals as we want to? We're not going to be able to go forward as much as last year without Declan Rice. We might even have a little bit less cover at the back and not be as defensively sound. Or do we want to do what we've done in previous seasons, such as the lockdown season, and just say, do you know what? We're going to go at every single team. We're going to play counter-attacking football. We're going to try and score as many goals as possible, and we'll see what happens with that. We've got attacking players. We know that these players can score goals and do well. So I'm not sure personally. For me, a back 5, I would really love to adopt, because I think we've got the players would suit that system. We've got a fresh canvas with Declan Rice leaving, with the fullbacks aging. We've got an excuse to sign new fullbacks, sign a new centre back. We've got an excuse to try out this back 5 system. And realistically, what have we got to lose? We almost got relegated last season. Now is kind of the time. You've got that 4-3-3 in your back pocket. You know that if things get bad, if the system doesn't work, that you can go back to that 4-3-3. Why not give the 5-2-3 a bit of a chance? Why not give these 5 at the back another shot with the players settled in? But then again, we've just settled into this 4-3-3. We struggle to settle into it. We struggle to get these players to adapt to our system. Do we now want to change system again and then have a similar situation last season where we start off really poorly and players like Paqueta really struggle to adapt to this new system? Players like Scamacca continue to struggle to adapt to this new system, and we get a position where we start the season poorly, and then throughout the whole season we're playing catch up again. So it is a really, really difficult one. I just don't know how sustainable the 4-3-3 is for us. I don't know how sustainable our old system is for us. it scraped relegation last season, let's be honest. And at times we had to change to another system. So I would definitely like to see a change of system from Moyes. I think now is the time to do it. We've got a fresh canvas. We've got the money to spend. What do you guys think? Do you think we should change the system? Just before we end the video, of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. 25% of you who watch these videos are subscribed. 75% are not. As Mark said, and as you've seen, we're giving away a home shirt every single month if you are subscribed to the West Ham Way YouTube channel. We're going to be bringing loads of content. There's a new show which I'm going to be heading up, coming to the West Ham Way, where more prizes will be on show. So we're really dishing out the prizes for subscribers here. So for the 75% of you that are not subscribed, subscribe to the West Ham Way YouTube channel. Put down in the comments, subscribed with the hammers emoji. Also put down in the comments, do you think we should be going to a new system? What system would that be? Do you agree with me? Is 5-2-3 a system that we can adopt this season? And I'll see you on the next one.